The Anti-Zoom, interviews that shouldn't work but do.
Welcome back to the Anti-Zoom, where we explore job interviews that broke every rule but somehow led to dream jobs. I'm Sarah, and today we have perhaps our most brutally honest story yet. Meet Alex Rivera, a senior engineer who told a fast-growing startup that they weren't interested in the mission, the culture, or the technology. They were only there for the stock options, and somehow landed a principal engineer role with a massive equity package. Alex, set the scene. What kind of company was this?
Series B fintech startup, about 200 employees, growing fast. They had this whole "we're changing the world of financial inclusion" mission-driven culture. Everyone was supposed to be passionate about democratizing finance. Very typical Silicon Valley. We're not just a company, we're a movement energy.
And you decided to tell them you didn't care about any of that.
Not immediately, but when they kept pushing the mission stuff and asking about my passion for fintech, I figured honesty was better than pretending to care about something I didn't.
Wavy lines and different lighting.
So Alex, what draws you to our mission of democratizing financial services for underbanked communities? We're really looking for people who are passionate about using technology to create social impact.
Can I be honest with you about something?
Of course, we value transparency here.
I'm not particularly passionate about fintech. I'm here because you're a fast-growing company with strong financials, and I want equity in something that has a real chance of going public or getting acquired at a significant valuation.
Awkward pause.
Oh, that's refreshingly honest. But we really believe in hiring for culture fit.
Let me explain what I mean. I'm a senior engineer who's really good at what I do. I can build scalable systems, lead technical teams, and solve complex problems. But I'm not going to pretend that I wake up every morning excited about payment processing or credit scoring algorithms. What I'm excited about is building something valuable with smart people and being rewarded appropriately for that value creation. If your company succeeds, I want to share in that success. That's honest alignment of interests.
I can only imagine how that landed in a mission-driven culture.
Emma looked like I'd just confessed to kicking puppies. But I figured if they wanted someone to fake passion for their mission, they should hire an actor, not an engineer.
But how do we know you'll be motivated to do good work if you're not passionate about our mission?
Because my equity is worthless if the company fails. I'm literally financially incentivized to do the best possible work. That's more reliable than passion, which can fade, or mission alignment, which can shift. Look, I've seen plenty of mission-driven engineers burn out or get disillusioned when they realize the business realities don't match the marketing. I'm telling you up front, I'm here to build great software and make money doing it. That's sustainable motivation.
But what about team dynamics? How do you work with people who are genuinely passionate about the mission?
I respect their motivation and they should respect mine. What matters is that we're all committed to building something excellent. I'm not going to be negative about the mission. I'm just not going to pretend it's what gets me up in the morning. Actually, mission-driven teams often benefit from having someone focused purely on execution and business outcomes. I can ask the hard questions about prioritization and resource allocation without being emotionally attached to specific features.
You mentioned equity and valuations. What's your understanding of our business model and growth prospects?
You're in a massive market with strong unit economics and defensible network effects. Your Series B was at a reasonable valuation with top-tier investors. You're growing revenue 200% year over year with improving margins. The regulatory environment is favorable, and you have real competitive advantages. Based on comparable companies and your trajectory, I think there's a legitimate path to a $10 to $20 billion valuation in the next 3 to 5 years. That's why I'm here. I want to own a piece of that outcome.
How did Emma react to your business analysis?
She got really quiet for a moment. Then she asked me something I wasn't expecting.
You've clearly done your homework on our business. That level of analysis suggests you're thinking about this more strategically than most candidates. How do you evaluate equity packages?
I look at the total shares outstanding, the liquidation preferences, the exercise price, the vesting schedule, and the company's funding history. I model different exit scenarios to understand the expected value. Most engineers just look at the number of options, which is meaningless without context. I also consider the tax implications of different exercise strategies and whether I want early exercise to start the capital gains clock. This stuff matters if you actually want to build wealth.
Most of our engineers don't understand equity that well. They just accept whatever we offer without really evaluating it.
That's because they're focused on the mission and the technology. I'm focused on the business. Both perspectives have value, but you probably need more people who think like owners, not just employees.
What do you mean by thinking like owners?
Owners care about efficiency, scalability, and long-term value creation. They make different trade-offs than employees who are just trying to ship features. They think about technical debt, operational costs, and whether we're building sustainable competitive advantages. If I own a meaningful piece of this company, I'm going to push for decisions that maximize long-term value, even if they're harder in the short term. That's aligned with what shareholders want.
Can you give me an example of how that mindset would affect your technical decisions?
Sure, if you're trying to hit a product deadline, most engineers will take shortcuts and accumulate technical debt. Someone thinking like an owner asks, what's the real cost of this debt? How will it affect our ability to scale? Is the short-term revenue worth the long-term operational burden? I'd rather delay a feature by 2 weeks and build it right than ship something that becomes a maintenance nightmare. My equity value depends on the company's long-term success, not hitting arbitrary quarterly targets.
So after basically telling them you didn't care about their mission, what happened?
Emma said she needed to discuss something with the founders and stepped out for about 15 minutes. I figured I'd either get an offer or get shown the door.
We've been struggling with engineers who don't think strategically about the business. They build features without considering the bigger picture or long-term consequences. It sounds like you'd bring a different perspective.
I definitely push for decisions that optimize for business value, not just technical elegance or feature velocity.
We'd like to offer you a principal engineer role with a significant equity package. If you're going to think like an owner, we want you to be compensated like one.
And that's how being honest about wanting money got you a bigger role.
Exactly, they realized that having someone who understood the business side and was financially motivated to optimize for long-term value was actually really valuable.
How has it worked out?
2 years later, the company is on track for an IPO, and my equity is worth significantly more than I expected. More importantly, the team has started thinking more strategically about technical decisions and their business impact.
Any tension with the mission-driven team members?
Initially, some people were skeptical, but when they saw that my business focus actually helped us build better products and avoid costly mistakes, they appreciated the different perspective. Turns out you can care about user outcomes through different motivations.
What would you tell other candidates who are primarily motivated by compensation?
Be honest about it, but show that you understand the business deeply enough to deserve equity. Don't just say, I want money. Demonstrate that you think like an owner and will make decisions that create value. Also, frame it as alignment, not greed. You want your success tied to the company's success. That's actually what investors and founders want too.
And for companies trying to evaluate candidates with different motivations,
ask yourself, do you want someone who will make the best decisions for the business, or someone who tells you what you want to hear? Financial motivation can be more sustainable than passion because it's based on outcomes, not feelings. Plus, if someone is sophisticated enough to evaluate your equity properly, they probably understand your business better than most candidates. That's valuable intelligence.
Alex Rivera, everyone proof that sometimes the most honest motivation is the most valuable one. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me, and remember, if you want people to think like owners, you have to give them owner-level transparency about the business and compensation.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Anti-Zoom. Next time, we'll explore more stories of unconventional honesty leading to unexpected career opportunities. Until then, remember, sometimes the most authentic motivation is the most effective one.
Subscribe for more unconventional career stories.